We will be recording this meeting for documentation and to share it with the participants for future references. So thank you so much, and feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as I was highlighting before. With these updates, we will now get started with our meeting today. We have a special welcoming message from our chair of the Minor Use Foundation Board, Dr. Dirk Drost. Dirk leads our Minor Use Foundation with his 40 decades of experience with the crop protection field. His guidance and leadership ensures that the foundation focuses on our mandates and move towards our vision to have a better world where fruits, vegetables, nuts, and spices are plentiful and affordable for everyone. Dirk is based in the US, and unfortunately, due to the time differences, he could not make it for the meeting today. But we have his recorded message that we will be playing now. Over to Nick to share the message from Dirk.
Hello and good day. My name is Dirk Drost. I'm the chairperson for the Minor Use Foundation. On behalf of the Board of Directors and our Executive Director, Ms. Anna Gore, it is a pleasure to welcome you to this Inception workshop for the Minor Use Foundation's priority setting process being held in early 2025. We manage a priority setting process every 4 to 5 years. We conducted the most recent
một lần và và đấy là quá trình xác định ưu tiên toàn cầu và chúng ta nhớ.
Thank you for joining and representing your community.
Merci de vous être connecté et de représenter votre communauté pour changer l'avenir de la façon dont nous gérons les... Durant cette session, nous allons parler de la procédure et de votre apport.
Để chúng ta có thể là triển khai quá trình đánh giá cũng như đề xuất các cái dự án quan trọng. Thế và chúng ta sẽ cung cấp những cái công cụ trực tuyến cũng như các cái nguồn lực trong thời gian từ bây giờ cho đến tháng 5 năm 2025 để chúng ta xác định ra các cái ưu tiên đó. Thế và tôi hy vọng rằng là quy trình này thì sẽ cho cung cấp với anh chị những cái thông tin đầu vào và những cái kiến thức để chúng ta có thể đề xuất ra những cái hỗ trợ để chúng ta có những cái công cụ trực tuyến để chúng ta có thể là giải quyết những vấn đề về dịch hại cũng như dịch bệnh đối với cây trồng để chúng ta thúc đẩy hỗ trợ quá trình thương mại. Và xin cảm ơn các anh chị tham dự trong cuộc họp ngày hôm nay. Vâng, và cảm ơn các đồng nghiệp của tôi đại diện từ các cái châu lục khác nhau để đã hỗ trợ cho tiến trình này. Thế và chúng tôi rất là mong muốn được gặp lại các anh chị.
Merci et passez une bonne journée.
Thank you so much, Nick. It is now time for us to acknowledge the support that we received from USDA Foreign Agricultural Services, without which we would not be able to have this great initiative. The USDA FAS team has been a huge support to implement our projects and priority setting process. On behalf of USDA FAS team, we have with us Ms. Lindsay Maleka to provide the opening remarks. Lindsay is an international affairs professional with over 13 years of experience spanning federal government services, small business growth, and program evaluation in international development. Currently serving as a Foreign Service Officer with USDA FAS, Lindsay has been instrumental in advancing international trade and economic initiatives since 2019.
Pour l'avancement de...
Over to you, please.
Lindsay, à vous la parole à présent.
And thank you, everyone. It's very nice to be here, and I
Merci
appreciate
beaucoup,
the
Sassi, et merci à
Cuộc họp ngày hôm nay của chúng ta và chúng tôi cũng rất là
exciting inaugural launch. As Sassi said, I'm the team lead for our maximum residue limit capacity building team within the United States Department of Agriculture Foreign Agriculture Service. And we've had a long partnership with the Minor Use Foundation, where our goals really align on helping to bring more fruits and vegetables, nutritious products to the tables, to help producers and to bring those also globally to the world through trade. We appreciate the Minor Use Foundation really as a leader in identifying and championing needs of producers and minor and specialty crops. These crops are vital to nutrition and economies for countries around the world, both for their domestic consumption and for their trade values. You heard Dirk mention the Global Minor Use Summit, and we had the pleasure of being there. It was a really delightful opportunity to bring together interested parties, and I think I see many familiar names on the screen. We're happy to have you join us and engage in this process. But it was a great opportunity for strategies and discussing new priorities. And this meeting today and the next Inception workshop really brings that forward as Minor Use Foundation seeks global input to prioritize their work and to carry out the mission. At USDA, we've supported and worked with the Minor Use Foundation for more than the past 5 years to advance this goal. USDA and the Minor Use Foundation have worked from 2019 to train 21 countries in good laboratory practices for Codex MRL establishment. We've worked to help establish a regional training hub for pesticide research in Colombia and complete studies that resulted in 13 new Codex MRLs. These are the result of an enormous amount of global collaboration, and we're pleased with the achievements that show the tangible trade facilitative results of this leadership from Minor Use Foundation and these partnerships globally. The United States Department of Agriculture is so very supportive of the needs of specialty crops, and specialty crops are a real focus of the new Assisting Specialty Crop Export Initiative. And USDA through this is supporting Minor Use Foundation to advance work on establishing more Codex MRLs through using existing global data and generating new data. So we are really excited about this opportunity through the prioritization workshop to understand the needs from you all of growers and countries in this prioritization process that will help inform the work and efficiently tackle the needs globally. So we're excited that this brings everything together to take a more holistic look that can help leverage the existing skills and data and identify opportunities to utilize crop grouping for even greater benefit. So on behalf of USDA, we really look forward to the outcomes and appreciate the effort of Minor Use Foundation and you who are all here contributing to this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for highlighting all the initiatives and the collaborative efforts of USDA and MUF. As Lindsay was highlighting, this is part of a great global priority nomination call. And this particular meeting is focused on Asia, Africa, Europe, and Oceania. And we have a similar launch for South America and North America regions that will be held on 9th January in Spanish and Portuguese. So thank you again, Lindsay, for the initiatives and the highlighting the success of our program and trainings in all the regions under USDA's effort. Thank you. So with that, we will now get started with the technical presentations and interactions to understand how this initiative will promote the global, will support the plant health initiatives that is happening globally. We have with us Ms. Sarah Brunel, Implementation and Facilitation Unit Lead, International Plant Protection Convention Secretariat, IPPC FAO, to deliver a special talk on importance of plant health in trade and food safety. Ms. Sarah is the IPPC Secretariat's lead on One Health. Secretariat's liaison with organizations such as Standards and Trade Development Facility, STDF, Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, CABI, co-lead the European Union and European Food Safety Authority, EFSA.
Elle aussi travaille avec l'Union européenne et
And the facilitation unit led by Sarah coordinates implementation,
Vâng, và chị cũng đã điều phối cái
such as production of IPPC guides and training materials, the phytosanitary capacity evaluation and capacity strengthening activities to address emerging pests. Sarah's focus is on coordination of implementation
Sarah se
projects
focalise sur la coordination et l'implémentation des projets
staffing, budgeting, resource mobilization, and strategies. We are extremely happy
Nous
and
sommes
proud to
très
have
heureux
Sarah with us
et
today
fiers
to
d'avoir
present the
Sarah avec nous
importance of
aujourd'hui
plant health initiatives
pour
in trade and food safety.
parler de
Sarah,
l'importance
we
de la
invite
santé des
you to please
végétaux
start sharing the
dans le
presentation
commerce et
and
la
to the
sécurité
listeners.
alimentaire. Sarah, nous vous donnons la parole à présent.
You're on mute.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sasireka. The pleasure and pride is all mine to be here with you today.
Merci beaucoup,
So,
Sassi. C'est un
let
plaisir
me
d'être avec vous aujourd'hui.
say hello to everybody. Bonjour.
Bonjour à tous.
So, as you mentioned, I'm gonna give a
Comme tu as
glimpse
mentionné,
of what we
Sassi,
do
je
in
vais
plant
donner un
health.
aperçu sur
My
ce que nous
screen is
faisons dans
in
notre
Vietnamese.
organisation. Mon écran est en vietnamien.
So,
You can please start
perfect.
sharing.
Thank you. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of everything we do, hoping that would
Alors, je vais vous donner un
inspire
aperçu de
your
ce que nous
very, very
faisons et
interesting
j'espère que cela va vous aider
workshop.
durant cet atelier.
I cannot change the slides.
Je ne peux pas
Sasireka, I
changer.
might ask you to do
I
on
will
my behalf. Yes, thank you very much. So indeed, I'm leading all activities related to implementation and capacity development within the IPPC Secretariat. You know, the trade of plant is of paramount importance.
Vous savez
And
que
just
le commerce de
gathering a
plantes
few
est très
figures,
important. Juste
from the
pour vous
Trade of
partager
Agricultural
certains
Commodities
chiffres
published by FAO,
qui ont été
for
publiés par
2022
le
and
FAO
2023, fruit and
en
vegetable
2023 au monde.
10 năm 2023 đấy. Thế thì chúng ta thấy
30% of the value of world food export. So that's the biggest or a very, very high share of trade of agricultural product. Next, please. You know, pests are also a huge threat, compromising about 40% of all food crops globally. And that is also increased by climate change, global change, and the increase of plant products, commodities, and people move, which is globalization. Next, please. And these impact trade as well as environment and food security of people. And that's why the International Plant Protection Convention has been set about 70 years ago and was recognized in the 90s by the World Trade Organization Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement, along with Codex Alimentarius and the World Organization of Animal Health. The IPPC is also one of the Convention on Biological Diversity liaison group dealing with biodiversity protection. And the IPPC Secretariat is hosted by FAO in Rome, but as a special status, responding to its 185 contracting parties, but also liaising very closely with its 10 regional plant protection organizations and over 40 partners. And its main task is to set standards, global standards, which we call international standard for phytosanitary measures. There are today 46, and to facilitate the implementation of these standards, we also develop guides and e-learning courses. Next, please. So our goal is huge. The mission is really to protect global plant resources and to facilitate safe trade. And the vision is that the spread of plant pests is minimized and their impact within countries are effectively managed. And the convention is really to have all the countries trust each other, speak the same language, and implement harmonized measures to reduce these effects. The strategic objective of the convention, I mentioned it previously, is to enhance global food security, to protect the environment, and to facilitate safe trade. And by doing so, we contribute to SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. They are quoted there on that slide. So no poverty, zero hunger. The IPPC has its own strategic framework for 2020-2030, which itself is fully compliant with the FAO strategic framework, which in turn is contributing to the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Next, please. So going into the specific of what we do, which could inform today's workshop, I wanted to relate about the
J'aimerais
IPPC development
vous
agenda.
parler
There are 8 development agenda
du
embedded
programme de
into the
développement
strategic framework,
de
which
IPPC.
is about commodity pathway,
Ça parle
directly
de
contributing
commodités
to the ISDN
spécifiques
46, which name is Commodity Specific Standards for Phytosanitary Measures. As of now, that standard is an umbrella standard awaiting for its annex on specific commodities. And this year, during the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures to be held in March in Rome, a draft annex on the international movement of fresh Mangifera indica fruit will be proposed to the contracting parties to be adopted by consensus. So for you to know, that's a crop we've been working on. And there's a specific expert working group to develop additional of these annexes. There's a very thorough and transparent process according to which the commodities are being determined, with a call for experts all contributing through these working groups. The last one met in December in Australia, in Canberra, and they further advanced on working on fresh banana fruit, or Musa paradisiaca, as well as on fresh taro, Colocasia esculenta. And during their next meeting, they will also work further on citrus fruit. Next slide, please. So that's an approach I thought was interesting for you to know, the work we do on commodity pathways. Another angle you might be interested to know about is the work we do on emerging pests. Indeed, there's another development agenda called Pest Outbreak and Alert Response System, which is more transversal, aiming at addressing emerging pest risk and improving global alert and response mechanisms by setting criteria to identify these pests at the global level, assessing them thoroughly, and providing toolkits for response coordination. Next one, please. So there's a whole global theoretical work being done on these PORs, which is being informed by the concrete work we did on 2 specific pests, namely fall armyworm, which represents a model for us, and that's a pest of maize, whether that's of interest for your further work. And in our model, we've considered the best support we can provide to countries at the global level, keeping in our role of secretariat, so providing thorough guidance on prevention, preparedness.
Thì chúng tôi sẽ xây dựng các cái hướng dẫn để có thể là giúp phòng ngừa, chuẩn bị cũng như là ứng phó.
À ces différents parasites, et nous avons également partagé des ressources existantes disponibles des différentes institutions, et nous organisons également 3 ateliers pour partager les différents contenus de ces guides à nos différents.
And as you may see, these resources available for free on our website, and is also available in French, Arabic, and Russian. Next slide, please. We then took that model to work on another very detrimental pest, which is Fusarium oxysporium cubense tropical race 4. And 2 years ago, the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures requested us, the IPPC Secretariat, to lead the global coordination on that pest. That's a huge enterprise. It's particularly relevant for Latin America and Africa, while this pest, it's already quite present in Asia, and there are very innovative and advanced measures taken. That pest is still quite limited distribution in Latin America and Africa, and that's our target for prevention, because that's really what we're doing at the secretariat level to prevent the entry and spread of pests. So we replicated the same model as what we did for fall armyworm, namely developing a guide, but we went a bit further, organized a hands-on diagnostic training course for COMESA countries at the Interatomic Agency Laboratory. We're having a very nice collaboration with them. We organized a surveillance virtual course for interested experts in the plant protection world. And we're also coordinating quite closely with a regional plant protection organization named OERSA in Central America. And you see there a picture of an achievement we're very proud of. That's the organization of the first hands-on simulation exercise in Africa, where we invited COMESA countries to Kenya, where Kenya was very reactive in organizing that simulation exercise at the farm level. They also shown what they do at the diagnostic laboratory level and the airport. And a simulation exercise is really to pretend there's an outbreak in a country, and the National Plant Protection Organization takes all actions as if the outbreak was real. So that was really a success, and I know Kenya is attending today, so let me congratulate them on the huge undertaking done for that simulation exercise. That's a pest and a crop you may be considering in your activities. Next slide. I also want to touch briefly on the fact that while working with countries, we realized the need for capacity development, and there are already, as I mentioned, some 24 guides available on all phytosanitary aspects, as well as 60 learning courses. But we are in the process of developing a very innovative digital capacity development platform, which will be called the IPPC Plant Health Campus, with various learning passes depending on the jobs of the workers within the NPPO. And there will be some 10 e-learning courses of ours, plus other guides, materials, e-learning courses from other institutions, for a worker in the NPPO to be fully equipped with all the knowledge needed. So for now, I invite you to consult our guide and training material and take them for free. All of them, of course, are available in English, but we're making all efforts to have most of them translated in French. Next slide, please. I'm sharing a few examples from Zambia and Belize to make it more palatable to various audiences. So I invite you to read these experiences. Next slide, please. And another crucial tool common to both plant health and food safety are these national capacity assessments. We have a tool called the Phytosanitary Capacity Evaluation that we manage since over 30, 40 years. So we have a whole lot of data. And the commonality here is that we've implemented that tool in the framework of a project financed by the European Union jointly with our colleagues from food safety within FAO. They have their food safety assessment. That's a self-evaluation tool but it's advised to have it facilitated by facilitators that we train. And I'm sending you to two examples, one in Senegal, which allowed to mobilize further resources for the NPPO, as well as in Asia, in Cambodia and Sri Lanka. The PCE is being set in three steps: situation analysis, strategic planning, and validation, working through consensus workshop with all stakeholders. And there are two very important outcomes. First, the approval of a national phytosanitary capacity development strategy, which will be valid for 5-10 years, informing a roadmap of all actions, priorities that the country may take. And another work that the NPPO may choose to do is to revise their phytosanitary legislation or regulation. We have a few additional successes on the website, which I invite you to consult. And I really wanted you to know about these activities in the background as a very thorough way to strengthen the capacities at the national level. Next slide. And then I just want to finish as we're talking about plant health, about trade, with our very innovative ePhyto and the digital transformation it is making at the world level. We are currently having 7 million ePhyto being exchanged with 136 countries who register and 92 active users. And the plan for the coming months is to liaise even more closely with Global Alliance, as well as a consortium of other private sectors and as well as public sectors, intergovernmental organizations, to mobilize resources and facilitate the implementation of ePhyto in Africa. And that would allow for safer, cheaper, and faster trade. I think we're all interested into that. Next slide, please. Just a few examples of how countries very innovatively implemented ePhyto. You see examples from Uganda, from Korea, from Argentina, and I invite you to send your own examples to us so we can enrich this collection of case studies. Next slide, please. And on this, I want to thank you. You see the link here provided to the IPPC. You see my email. Please do not hesitate to contact me. And just to let you know, we're going to have our Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, where all National Plant Protection Organization official contact points will attend in Rome to approve by consensus the standards as well as all decisions. And I understand not all of you will be able to attend, but I want to let you know that we're going to organize 2 side events, one on systems approach and one on this Fusarium tropical race 4 and innovation going on to prevent its introduction and spread, that will be streamed. So we count on you to participate and get to know more about what we do. So thank you very much, Sasireka, and all listeners. Thank you, and I remain available. Would you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the excellent presentation and giving us an insight on IPPC's initiative across the globe, especially the initiative that you have to support the specialty crops, including citrus, taro, that are specific to specific regions of the world. So thank you so much. And we can already start seeing so many alignments of our vision to support the specialty crops and to support the crop protection field with your presentation. So that's a great start, why we are here today, to support these kind of initiatives and be a small part of, understanding what's happening across the globe with specialty crops, and what are all the pests and diseases that still needs our attention to support the growers. So thank you again, and we invite the participants to please leave your questions to Ms. Sara in the chat box, and she will be addressing all your questions during the Q&A session. With that, having listened to a global picture of the initiatives from FAO, we would now like to present some of the initiatives and what we do from the foundation across different regions. So please allow me to present the background of our foundation on behalf of my team. As you know, I am Sasireka Rajendran, and I've been working with the foundation as a global operations manager. Some of you are familiar with the foundation. For those who are joining today for the first time and hearing about us for the first time, we are a non-profit research foundation registered in the US, and we are present globally, and our team work from Asia, Africa, Latin America, and North America. So our foundation was created as a success of 5-year project that was jointly funded by STDF of WTO and then the USDA FAS. So we conduct mainly scientific studies to support the crop protection and to support the pest and diseases for specialty crops. And our core activities revolve around technology transfer, sharing knowledge between different countries, and capacity building and strengthening the South-South cooperation with countries. So we tried to put a map to show you our presence in this region. So we are focusing right now on Asia, Africa, Europe, and Oceania, as this meeting is targeted towards our partners in this region. The countries that you see in green are our active partners, and we have been working with them for the past few years to conduct studies related to Codex MRL data generation, or trying to help them register solutions or crop protection technologies in their countries, especially for specialty crops. And all our work is focused on
Notre
generating
travail est
data
focalisé sur
concerning
Tập trung
Codex
vào việc là
counting
tạo ra các dữ liệu
residues.
để
How we do that
để
is by promoting
tăng
international
cường cái
cooperation
việc là
and
kiểm soát
information
các cái
sharing.
dư lượng
So you
thuốc
will
bảo vệ
see
thực vật ở trên cây trồng.
we have a project, and that
Và chúng
project
tôi
will
triển
be
khai các cái dự án
different countries. And
và chúng tôi triển khai các dự án ở 5 quốc gia khác nhau, và chúng tôi tạo ra các cái cơ hội và thông qua một cái nền tảng, cái diễn đàn để các quốc gia có thể học hỏi lẫn nhau để chia sẻ các cái thông tin và các cái kinh nghiệm với nhau. Đồng thời thì chúng tôi cũng mong muốn là xây dựng một đội ngũ, một mạng lưới của các cái chuyên gia và để có thể tham gia trong cái hội nghị thượng đỉnh của quỹ Minor Use Foundation. Và cái cách thức mà chúng tôi hoạt động với các quốc gia như các anh chị đã thấy, thì đây thì chúng tôi triển khai các cái dự án khác nhau. Và bao giờ thì chúng tôi bắt đầu với cái hoạt động là thiết lập ưu tiên, xác định cái ưu tiên giống như cuộc họp ngày khởi động xác định ưu tiên ngày hôm nay đấy. Và sau đó thì chúng tôi tìm kiếm các cái đối tác có liên quan ở quốc gia và xác định các đối tác đấy. Vâng, và thường thì bao giờ chúng ta cũng nói đến quá trình về đề xuất, tổ chức các cái cuộc họp về đề xuất các cái dự án khác nhau. Thế thì các cái đối tác của quốc gia cũng sẽ đề xuất các cái nhu cầu của họ có liên quan đến các cái sâu hại hay là các ưu tiên về một số cây trồng, vân vân. Vâng, hoặc là và có thể sử dụng các cái thuật ngữ khác nhau và Vâng, và sau đó thì sau khi mà nhận được các cái đề xuất của các quốc gia thì xác định ra các cái đối tác phù hợp, và xem là thì các đối tác này đối tác nào kết nối với các cái tổ chức kỹ thuật chuyên môn, và sau đó thì chúng ta tiến hành để về đào tạo và tập huấn, và sau đó thì chuẩn bị việc là thu thập và tạo ra các cái dữ liệu của các quốc gia, và sau đó thì có thể là chuẩn bị các cái gói dữ liệu để đệ trình cho Ủy ban Codex. Thì đấy là cái mô hình hoạt động của quỹ Minor Use Foundation.
Similar to this workshop that we are having right now, we had another priority setting workshop, the first priority setting workshop in 2021 with the ASEAN member states, and we came up with the different priorities for fruits and nuts and agronomic vegetables and herbs. So the next 3 years from 2021, since we launched the priority setting, we worked with the countries based on the priorities that the country submitted to us. So that's how we will be planning to move ahead now. We will be opening our nomination, and once we receive your inputs for the next 3 years, you will help us decide which crops and which pests we should be working on. And this is again the priorities that we identified for Africa during the period of 2021 and 2022. So following our priority setting process, we conducted trials with Thailand for basil to address downy mildew, and lettuce to address weeds. And in Vietnam, so the study is still ongoing with Vietnam, dragon fruit, white and brown spot. And we have papaya, black, to address the black rot. And in Kenya, we conducted study on passion fruit to address the scale and mealybugs. And as far as the current study for 2025, we are actively working with Thailand on durian. So this is again a very important economic and culturally aligned crop for Southeast Asian region. And we are focusing on durian to address the seed borer. The picture you see here are the pictures that we had from our recent supervised field trial that was conducted by our team in Thailand with the support of Department of Agriculture. And in Malaysia and in Vietnam, we will be starting our trials on pineapple to address anthracnose. And in Ghana, Kenya, and Senegal, we will be starting our studies on okra and chili pepper. Again, all these crops are exclusively, important to the region, and provide more economic return to the growers. So as I was highlighting, our part of training to boost or to increase the capacity of the countries that we are working with, to ensure that all the studies are conducted as per the international standards following the GLP principles. So we have our trainers visiting all the countries and training the people on conducting these studies. And sometimes we also use the capacity, as I was telling with the South-South cooperation, we also use the well-trained countries to go to other country as a trainer and exchange their information within the region. So we do have some videos, excellent videos on how our work in establishing MRL and supporting the registration of crop protection technologies in the countries helped farmers to boost their income and get better additional income to support other crops by exporting their high quality product. So we will also make sure to leave the link to these excellent videos in the chat, and you may please refer to this. So this is a little bit of background about our foundation, and we are happy to talk more if you want to know more about us or our initiatives. And please keep following in the LinkedIn, where we will be giving updates regarding this nomination process as we move along. So with this, I will stop my presentation to give a background. And yes, as I was highlighting, if you have any questions regarding our work, please feel free to add in the chat box, and we will be addressing that soon. Okay, so with that, we will now move on to the next agenda. As I highlighted in my presentation, all our projects are implemented with a huge support and collaboration with the public sector and the private sector. We received a great support from CropLife Asia and Africa in building partnership with the regional economic cooperatives. We joined hands with the like-minded experts who are willing to support the specialty crop growers. We have with us our dearly friend, Mr. Ricky Ho, Director of Science and Regulatory Affairs from CropLife Asia, who will be presenting today on the benefits of minor use program in developing economics from an industry perspective. He started his career in 2 Asian government agencies responsible for developing and administering regulations on pesticide registration, risk evaluation and management in Hong Kong and Singapore for 13 years. In 1995, he joined the crop protection industry, heading various Asia-Pacific regulatory science positions in Bayer Crop Science and its predecessor companies based in Singapore and Malaysia. Ricky retired from the Bayer at the end of 2020 and immediately joined CropLife Asia as the Director of Science and Regulatory Affairs. He is based in Singapore. He continues to be very active in supporting and shaping the crop protection regulatory landscape in APAC. We welcome you, Ricky, to present the industry's perspective on minor use program. Over to you.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Firstly, may I still wish you all a happy and successful 2025. My name is Ricky Ho, Director of Science and Regulatory Affairs from CropLife Asia, based in Singapore. Some of you may not be familiar with CropLife Asia. CropLife Asia is part of a global federation representing the plant science industry. We support the work of 15 national associations across Asia and are led by plant science companies at the forefront of crop protection, seeds, and biotechnology innovation, research, and development. We advocate for a safe, secure, and sustainable food supply across the region, driven by the innovations of plant science, and are proud of the strong partnership forged with governments, civil society, and other food chain value partner towards ensuring the responsible use of this technology to achieve impactful results. I would like to thank the organizer, the Minor Use Foundation, for inviting me to share some of our thoughts and perspective on the challenges and opportunities for minor use program, particularly in the Asian context, which may also be applicable to other developing countries in other parts of the world. So some people ask me, what is minor use? When I talk to them about minor use in Asia, not all the people immediately know what I'm referring to. So in this presentation, please allow me to use minor use and minor crop interchangeably. As far as I'm concerned, minor uses of minor crop to agricultural products cultivated on a smaller scale in comparison to the primary or staple or major crops, whatever you call it. They generally have less extensive cultivation, reduced market demand, or limited commercial importance. But nonetheless, minor crops or minor uses can play a crucial role in certain areas for food security, cultural significance, or niche economic contributions. So what are some of the characteristics of minor uses of minor crops? They are grown in particular regions rather than big acreage, big area in different parts of the country. So it's kind of a restricted cultivation area. These crops may lack substantial industrial or export markets. So it's kind of a reduced commercial value. And often they utilize for local consumption or traditional medicine or specialties market. So it's a very specialized type of application. And this crop may flourish in unique conditions that are not suitable for major crops. So there is some kind of a climate or soil specificity. So here are some examples of minor crops in Asia. Sasi just now has mentioned already some of them based on the project that Minor Use Foundation have already undertaken with some of the countries, like for fruits, rambutan, gooseberry, or guava. If you don't know what they are, that is good. That is exactly what we mean by minor use or minor crops. The vegetables like okra, different types of gourd, or specialty, the vegetables or greens. And in terms of cereals and grain, it can be millet varieties, foxtail millet or finger millet, or other plants I mentioned just now about medicinal plants, herbs, or spices such as basil and coriander. And these crops actually play a crucial role in maintaining agricultural diversity, supporting local economies, and may demonstrate greater resilience to pest diseases and climate fluctuation compared to major crop. How does the crop protection industry view minor uses or minor crop challenges? Crop protection plays an important part in agricultural output, including minor crops, of course. However, it frequently faces obstacles in meeting the needs of minor crop production due to market dynamics, regulatory limits or restriction, and the economic realities of small-scale farming. But however, the industry normally sees and approaches these challenges in a different ways. By no means are these exhaustive or in any order of importance, but these are just some of the perspective I would like to share with you. Limited market incentives. Minor crops physically have a smaller market presence in comparison to major staples or major crops such as rice, wheat, maize, or corn, and this restricts the motivation for the industry to invest in R&D, research and development, focus on crop protection for minor crops. And the expenses associated with creating and registering pesticides, whether it's insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, or biological controls, can be quite high, especially given the lower expected profits from minor crop markets. The variety of minor crops necessitates those solutions be very tailored, which further complicates achieving economies of scale for crop protection sector. Next is regulatory and registration challenge. In many countries, regulatory systems tend to concentrate on key crops, resulting in few options for the approval of crop protection products for less common or minor crops or minor users. Securing registration for product intended for minor crops necessitates comprehensive information regarding efficacy, bioefficacy or effectiveness, safety and environmental consequences, which is frequently insufficient due to a lack of research and development investment. And coming to regulatory compliance. Achieving regulatory compliance for minor crops may prove unfeasible financially, considering the limited size of the market. And when it comes to pest and disease diversities, minor crops frequently face distinct pest and disease challenges that vary greatly from those encountered by major crops, necessitating specialized crop protection approaches. And there is frequently a shortage of registered or effective products to address the pest and disease that are particularly to manage minor crops. So last but not the least, the smallholder farming constraint. Smallholders who produce minor crops frequently have insufficient funds to invest in crop protection products. In many developing countries, minor crop farming operates in less organized or subsistence markets, again limiting commercial potential for crop protection companies. And in many situations, farmers that grow minor crops may be unaware of available crop protection solutions or the benefits of using them. So with all these challenges, are there opportunities or are there any positive perspective that we can talk about? Sure, despite all these hurdles. The crop protection business sees various opportunities in addressing minor crop production issue or minor users. Growing demand for niche market as a result of more affluent consumer demand, minor crops catering to health conscious or specialist markets might provide attractive potential for crop protection solutions, particularly in the area of biopesticides and environmentally friendly products. When it comes to export, certain minor crops which have great export potential such as spices, herbs, and exotic foods may warrant focused crop protection investment. The shift towards sustainable and environmental friendly solution has resulted in increase in R&D, particularly in biological control, which are frequently appropriate for minor crops. And we always talk about IPM, integrated pest management. Promoting IPM practices can be an inexpensive way to preserve minor crops while reducing environmental impact. I cannot overemphasize the importance of partnerships and collaborative approaches. Working among governments, NGOs, research institutes, and the industry to develop and distribute crop protection solutions for minor crop is key. And when it comes to smallholder farmers, programs that provide low cost, scalable crop protection options for minor crops are required to build a sustainable operating production model, particularly for smallholding farmers. I mentioned about regulatory constraint. What are the regulatory innovations we can look at? Harmonized approvals for crop protection solutions for minor users of minor crops is important. Efforts to streamline regulatory processes for minor crops, such as the implementation of regional pesticides mutual recognition systems, is among the different schemes that can incentivize and encourage more crop protection introduction and recommendation on the product labels. And when it comes to data sharing initiatives include pooling data for minor crop protection to save R&D effort and reduce development costs is another example of regulatory innovation that we can consider. So what will be the way forward for all of us over here? To address some of these difficulties and promote minor crop or minor users output, the crop protection sector can invest in biocontrol solutions, focus on finding long-term solutions that can apply to a variety of minor crops, looking into the technology aspect, using digital tools and precision agriculture to improve pest management in minor crops, and not only focusing on major crops. As I've mentioned by some of the speakers just now, collaboration on research among the governments, academic institutions, and industry to co-fund research on pest and disease management in minor crops is also key. We should not be only focusing on major crops. Farmers' education, conducting outreaching and training to raise the awareness and encourage the use of suitable crop protection methods, which anyway we are doing for major crops, but we should also extend to include minor crops in our training efforts. Promote regulatory policy changes. I think I've just mentioned 5 minutes ago, advocate for regulatory policy that encourage innovation and lower barriers to product registration for minor crops, balancing the benefits and perceived risk, and out-of-the-box and pragmatic mentality is required to overcome the regulatory hurdles specifically to manage minor use or minor crops. In conclusion, the crop protection, the business sees minor use or minor crop production as a complex but vital sector that must balance economic and regulatory restrictions with chances for innovation and sustainability. By addressing this issue through targeted investments, collaborations, and regulatory reforms, the industry will play our part in supporting minor crop production and assisting smallholder farmers. So with this, I would like to thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Ricky, for the excellent, clear presentation, as always. So we have been listening, and always we had your support to ensure that you always conveyed a message that we all work for the farmers at the end, and whatever stand we take to support the specialty crops, we can clearly see your support and CropLife Asia and the industry support in bringing that to the ground, so farmers can be benefited. Thank you again, Ricky, for your time and excellent presentation. I know a few participants had issues to look at the different presentations in different languages. Please allow me before we move into the next agenda. I'll just show quickly. We will be sharing the screen in three languages: English, Vietnamese, and French. The speaker screen, if you see at the top, you will see their presentations in English, and those who are comfortable with Vietnamese, you can choose Vietnamese, and those who are comfortable with French, you can choose French. So you can alternate between the slides if you click at the top of the Zoom screen. And please rename yourself by clicking, you'll have option more next to your name, and click that and rename yourself with your full name and your country name. So with that, we will move on to our next agenda. We started with a broad understanding of the plant health initiatives from FAO, MUF, and industry perspective. We will now move into the presentation from our Executive Director, Ms. Anna Gore, who will highlight the priority setting process and timeline. We will be hearing from her the broad outline of activities that are planned from launching the nomination to establishing the priority list. Prior to joining the foundation, Anna Good managed projects on pesticide MRL regulatory capacity building and a large portfolio of global MRL activities in Latin America, Asia, and Africa for the USDA FAS for 7 years. Her activities at FAS focused on alignment and harmonization of regional MRL regulatory systems, underscored the importance of science and research risk-based approach to MRL regulation, and supported countries in development of stronger plant health regulatory systems. With this excellent background, Anna has been guiding our team for the past 3 years to support the specialty growers by showcasing excellent leadership. I give the floor to Anna to start sharing the slides and present the timeline.
Thank you, Sassy. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you all so much for participating in this meeting. I really appreciate it, and we hope that you will participate actively in the nomination process as well. And my presentation is actually here. Let me just share the screen and then I'll get started. My presentation is actually quite short and probably not as important as the presentations that follow. I'm just going to outline at a high level what this process will look like so that everybody can, we get into, as Sassy mentioned, transitioning a little bit now into the specifics of our process, how we're planning to run it, what might be similar or different to what we did in 2020, and what you can expect from us in terms of results ultimately at the end of this process. So we're getting kind of a little bit into the nuts and bolts of this, and I'm just going to do a very high level overview of the timeline.
Je vais juste vous donner un aperçu et à présent nous aurons d'autres présentations de la méthodologie et des
Sau đó thì chúng ta sẽ
So this is just sort of an overview. So today, January 7th, our window for nominations opens, and it is active and open on our website. I believe the link has been shared in the chat, and it will be shared throughout this meeting as well. We'll share it multiple times, and you can easily find it on the homepage of our website as well. And Sassy will be later on in this meeting giving a very clear overview and demonstration of how you can submit, make a nomination, how you can submit it, and the different types of nominations that we are receiving. So one difference in the nominations that we're receiving this time to previous nominations is while Sassy mentioned that the heart of our work is revolving around data generation for Codex MRLs, we are also receiving nominations for other types of projects in this nomination process. So it could be a request for an import tolerance, it could be a request for a registration. As Ricky emphasized in his presentation, the lack of registrations domestically can be a real hindrance to addressing pest and disease pressures. So we'll be Also very interested to receive nominations for domestic registrations, for regional, in regional economic communities, harmonized registrations regionally, as well as biological solutions, not just conventional pesticide solutions. So we have a broader range of projects that we'll be considering in this nomination window. And you, as you'll see in the demonstration that Sasi will do later on, you can see how you can choose the type of project you would like to nominate, as well as I should mention also special projects. So if you have a project that you would like the foundation to consider that falls outside of these categories that you think is relevant, it could be training on a particular topic, a particular regulatory issue, something like that, that is also possible to submit through this process. So that window will be open for a month. And then we will be reviewing them as they come in and starting to sort of categorize and analyze the trends of what's being received throughout the month. And then from February 7th to March 3rd, we're going to be basically cleaning our data. Did we receive everything in a way that's complete, in a way that we understand? Are there any questions or confusion regarding any of the nominations? In which case, we might reach out to the folks who submitted them and ask for clarification regarding any of the nominations. So we're going to be cleaning up all of the inputs that we've received, making sure that we understand them, and then we're going to be analyzing them for key trends and areas of focus. So we might be, it's hard to say in an abstract way what that might look like, but we might be focusing on specific crop groups. We might be focusing on specific pests and diseases where we're seeing a lot of requests and a lot of needs come in. And we're going to sort of start categorizing things by type of pest, by region, and making other connections as well. And then we will send that kind of summary analysis of our needs to industry, the crop protection industry, so that they can evaluate it and provide solutions to the needs. And also to collaborative partners. So, for example, if we get requests for projects with in a specific country, we may reach out to that country government and ask if they would be interested in partnering with us to try to address this need, to try to get registrations, or to try to work maybe in a collaborative way with other countries in the region. And so we'll be reaching out to country and industry partners with that key analysis. We'll have about 3 weeks to do that, and then we'll be sending it out on March 3rd. From March 3rd to April 14th, it's a window for those industry and regulatory partners to review the analysis and provide input to us. So from industry, that will look like nominating solutions. So they will review the needs and where they can support a registration or a Codex MRL. They will be nominating chemical solutions for us to consider working on. And then for the country partners, as I mentioned, they will also be evaluating opportunities for collaboration and sending us feedback. From April 14th to May 24th, we're going to analyze the input that we get. So we'll take all the information we receive, we'll look at all the solutions that have been nominated by industry, all of the countries that have been expressed interest in partnership with us, and we'll look for how can we maximize our impact. So one of the key things to understand about this process is we anticipate receiving several thousand nominations. In the past, I think we've received between 4,000 and 5,000. And our capacity as a very small nonprofit is quite limited. We can take on, somewhere between 10 and 20 projects a year. So we're going to be looking for how can we find efficiencies and maximize the impact of our work. And so please know that going forward, we can't do every project, even though we very much would like to. So if your project doesn't get selected, if your nomination doesn't end up getting implemented by the Minor Use Foundation, we will still keep it in our our minds and our database. We'll still look for opportunities to work on that should the time come. We'll look for opportunities to partner. Maybe we can't do it in this priority setting process, but down the road, there's an opportunity to work on it. And just know that we very much value your input, even though we can't address every need that we receive. So we're going to be focusing on 3 to 4 key themes or issues that we want to be trying to address over the next few years. And that could be a set of projects. It might be, projects in regions across the world. It could be a set of commodities. Maybe we're going to work in a specific commodity group. And over the next 3 years, we're going to do 5 or 6 projects in that commodity group to get a group MRL and codex. But we're going to be kind of honing in on what our priorities are with regard to not specific crop chemical combinations, but more broadly, what the topical focus of our work is going to be. And then we're also going to be concretely developing a list of crop chemical combinations because we do need to have a concrete work plan for 2026. So we will be within those 3 to 4 key issues, coming up with what our first steps will be in 2026, what projects we're going to be taking on. And then we might identify other needs that come out of this priority setting process. Maybe we identify that we need to form a working group to try to dig a little deeper on some of these issues and better understand them. We have recently this year launched a commodity liaison group for tropical fruit so that we can continue to have dialogue with growers who are growing tropical fruit and better understand the needs. We may decide to develop additional commodity liaison groups depending on the needs that we receive. And we may reach out to new partners as well if there are needs that we would like to branch out from our current set of partners. So we'll be kind of setting a plan for ourselves in many different ways with regard to key thematic areas, with regard to a concrete set of crop chemical combinations for 2026, and with regard to new initiatives that we may begin as well. And then alongside the CCPR, the Codex Committee on Pesticide Residue meeting, which will be taking place in Santiago de Chile this year, which is taking place in the last week of May, we'll have a validation workshop for the results of the priority setting process, where we'll be sharing with everybody what we've come up with, and we'll be looking for validation, meaning, if there are things that seem off about what we're proposing to do, we'd like to hear from you. If there are suggestions on how we can improve it, we'd like to hear from you. And if you feel that we're headed in the right direction, we'd like to hear that as well. So we will be sort of doing a final validation or check with the delegates in CCPR, and we'll be receiving feedback in that meeting, and also at the end of that meeting, finalizing our work plan. So that's just a high level overview. As I mentioned, now we're going to get into some of the details in terms of how we're thinking about this philosophically and what the technical approach will be. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions and participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, for providing us with the overall timeline of our priority setting process. As we keep highlighting, most of the activities that we do will be submitted to JMPR for Codex MRL setting. As Anna was highlighting, the next 2 presentation, we will see how we technically look at the nominations that we receive and how we shortlist the projects. So first, we will have a recorded presentation from our expert study director, Mr. Bill Barney, that highlights the importance of crop grouping in such kind of initiatives or the studies that we do within the foundation. So he was recognized with a special award for his leadership in the revision of codex classifications for food and animal feed. He also received an award for his efforts at 2023 Food Use Workshop 35. We are happy to have Bill's presentation on crop grouping and codex classification. Nick, over to you to please show Bill's video. So unfortunately, he could not join today because of the time difference, but we have his recorded presentation that we will be playing now. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Bill Barney. I'm a study director with the Minor Use Foundation. In this presentation, I'm going to briefly cover the concept of crop grouping, including the Codex Alimentarius Commission, the classification of food and animal feeds, brief history, the basic concepts of crop groups, subgroups, representative commodities, An example crop group, the tropical fruit with edible peel. An example of subgroups and some of the benefits of crop grouping. Now, the Codex Alimentarius Commission was created in 1963 by FAO and WHO to develop food standards and guidelines. There are 189 member countries, and decision-making occurs in a system of 8 steps. Codex Committee on Pesticide Residues, CCPR, meets once a year and recommends maximum residue limits, MRLs, for pesticide residues for food commodities. And these are derived by reviews by the Joint Meeting on Pesticide Residues, JMPR, and these Codex MRLs are applied in international trade. Now, the Codex classification of food and animal feeds, this is intended to be as complete a listing as possible of food commodities moving in trade, classified into groups on the basis of the commodity's similar potential for pesticide residues. This classification is intended to promote harmonization of the terms used to describe commodities which are subject to maximum residue limits. Grouping commodities with similar potential for residue allows for setting a common maximum residue level for the entire group or subgroup of commodities. Now, there are 5 classes in the classification. It includes both plants and animals. The class that we are primarily interested in is Class A. These are food commodities of plant origin. That includes fruits, vegetables, grasses, including cereal grains, nuts and seeds, and herbs and spices. Now, the first classification was adopted by the 18th session of the Codex Alimentarius Commission in 1989. The next edition was published in 1993, and this is the edition that has recently been revised. It started in 2002 when the Netherlands introduced a discussion paper on the need for a limited revision of the classification, which eventually became a more extensive revision that was finally completed in 2023 at the meeting in Beijing, China. I'm not going to go through year by year each crop group and how we progressed. But one of the important years was in 2008 when the U.S. presented a document entitled Principles and Guidance on the Selection of the Representative Commodities for the Purposes of Extrapolation of MRLs. The committee agreed that there should be representative commodities within each Codex classification group that could be selected and proposed. And this is the first time that there was agreement to use representative commodities in the Codex system. Now, the basic concept of crop groups, a crop group is used to facilitate the establishment of a MRL for a large number of crops based on the residue data from selected representative crops. Crop subgroups, these are more closely related crops in a crop group that are divided into smaller groups with one or more representative crops. Now, the representative crops are crops in a crop group whose residue data can be used to establish a tolerance on the entire crop group or subgroup. Generally, these representative crops have the highest residues, they're the most economically important, and they have a similar morphology. This is an example of a Codex crop group. This is the assorted tropical and subtropical fruits with edible peels. You can see the representative commodities, which include olive, fig or guava, and date. The member crops are all on the right-hand side of the table. These are examples of crop subgroups. This is the same crop group, but divided into subgroups. There's small tropical fruits with edible peel, represented by olives. Large tropical fruit with edible peel, and these are represented by fig or guava. And the palms with edible peel represented by dates. Now, there are a number of benefits to using crop grouping. Analytical laboratories can operate more efficiently. Growers benefit by obtaining labeled uses more quickly. It saves time and resources for regulatory reviewers. Many commodities that were not included in the previous version are now included. There is a need for the international harmonization of crop groups and vocabularies, and there has been an increased globalization of markets and trade, and a need for import tolerances. There's also a considerable monetary benefit to using crop groups. It saves a considerable amount of research dollars. We take the previous crop group that we looked at, tropical and subtropical fruits with edible peel. This includes 3 representative commodities: olive, fig or guava, and dates, and 96 individual commodities. Now, if we conduct 3 residue studies with the 3 representative commodities, and we're making an assumption that each study costs $100,000. That's 3 times 100,000, that's $300,000. If we had to conduct 96 individual residue studies, that's 96 times 100,000, that's $9.6 million. So only having to conduct the residue studies on the representative commodities saves $9.3 million. Now, this is a pretty brief overview of crop grouping. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. There's my email address at the Minor Use Foundation. Thank you for your consideration and listening to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing the video. And participants, please feel free to add your questions regarding the crop grouping. I know most of the countries with whom we are working with are taking initiatives to have this crop grouping system in place in your countries. So please feel free to add if you have any questions to us regarding that. We will now move into the most important part of the Inception meeting, where we will be discussing how we will screen the nominations that we receive from you. We have with us the Secretary of Minor Use Foundation Board, Mr. Alan Norton, who will be presenting on project selection process and analysis. Alan has worked in the regulation of crop protection products and veterinary medicines for the past 26 years with the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority as the Executive Director of Registration Management and Director of Minor Use. During that time, Alan worked with many agricultural industries seeking crop protection solutions for minor crops and providing those industries guidance through the regulatory process. Alan, we kindly invite you to share your slides on our selection process and analysis. Over to you.
Thank you, Sasi. I just want to confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you again.
So for the participants, you can please click on Alan's screen to see the presentation in English. Thank you. Over to you, Alan.
Thank you. Hi, as Sasi mentioned, my name is Alan Norden. I'm a board director with the Minor Use Foundation. I thank you all for joining today, and it's a pleasure to be here with you and to share some insights into the process and analysis we'll be undertaking as we move from your upcoming nominations to final project selection. In looking at the process and analysis of project selection, I would like to touch on some of the challenges we all face, outlining how in this year's priority setting process, we are looking for more details about what types of solutions or outcomes you are seeking, how we will review those nominations and conclude with some hypothetical examples of what outcomes may look like. I will add that the selection of projects and the outcomes of any analysis is all dependent on what priority needs you nominate over the coming month. I think it's all important that we all have an understanding of expectations at the outset of this exercise in reviewing both your nominations and those of your colleagues throughout the world. The primary challenge we face is the volume of requests versus the resources and funding available to address them. The Minor Use Foundation is a not-for-profit organisation, and our work is therefore limited to our available resources. We're expecting that we'll receive hundreds, if not several thousand nominations in the coming month, where we know from conducting similar processes in the past, nominations have exceeded 4,000, involving more than 200 different crops and 185 different pests and diseases. We therefore need to be realistic and be as efficient as possible by looking for ways of maximising outcomes from limited resources to assist the greatest number of stakeholders in addressing minor use needs globally. Earlier this year at the 4th Global Minor Use Summit, we conducted a survey of stakeholders to hear their thoughts about what types of activities the Minor Use Foundation should consider when selecting projects. This slide gives a snapshot of the results of that survey in terms of the different types of priorities and solutions people are seeking. As you can see from the results, our stakeholders have indicated that they would like assistance in a number of different ways, be that to achieve new codecs or import MRLs, support with JMPR periodic reviews, efficacy data generation, obtaining domestic registrations through the new technologies or strategies to mitigate residues. We have built into this year's nomination form not only what are your priority crop and pest needs, but also what type of assistance or solution you are seeking to address that need. You will later in this workshop session get a demonstration of the online nomination form itself, but for now I wanted to highlight how when it comes to considering your nominations, there are several different types of requests that we will be examining. The nomination form will not only ask you for your priority crop and pest needs, but it will also ask you to identify what solution type you are seeking assistance with. The form has 3 broad categories which we want you to select for each nomination you make. The first is where you may already have a domestic registration but seek assistance with obtaining either a codex or import MRL for that use. The second is where you may be seeking to obtain access to a solution that is already registered in another country. And finally, the third is where you are looking for a new solution. So the first 2 deal with what I call existing solutions. That is solutions that are already registered somewhere in the world. And the outcomes being sought are to obtain trade-enabling MRLs in destination markets. In some cases, this can be a rate-limiting step in adoption of that technology by producers. Or where you're aware of a solution registered in another country, but because the use is a minor use, there is a lack of commercial interest in registering that product or use in your country. Then again, the third is where you consider a new solution is needed. This may be because there are no existing solutions, or those registered are limited or suffer from pest resistance. It may also involve where you are looking for a biological solution that enables producers to implement a residue mitigation strategy to replace or complement existing solutions, but in a way that enables producers to meet market access requirements. The nomination form also includes two other sections dealing with future periodic reviews of existing Codex MRLs and an option to seek consideration of a special project. With the first, in relation to periodic reviews, not only do we need to find new solutions for minor use needs, but we also need to maintain access to our existing solutions where they remain to be safe and effective. The nomination form lists those compounds that are scheduled for periodic review between 2025 and 2028. There are 29 different compounds in the list. We encourage you to examine the current Codex MRLs for each of these compounds and identify those that are of importance to you. Finally, the special projects option is really your opportunity to identify something you would like the Minor Use Foundation to do. It could be to help you with a particular challenge, or be creative and suggest something that we might all embark on at a global level to assist minor users. We are wanting to hear your imaginative ideas on new ways in which we can work together to find solutions. So in summary, when we start to process your nominations, please be mindful that we'll be balancing and reviewing a diverse range of different requests, possibly for the same crop and pest or disease need. While these are different, they are collectively as important as one another. For example, achieving a domestic registration of a minor use is a challenge in itself, but then having to manage produce amongst a range of export markets may render the solution useless. So achieving Codex or import MRLs is quite critical for enabling grower adoption of solutions. This can be particularly challenging for new chemistry, as while it may have benefits over older chemistry, if markets do not accept treated produce, growers are less likely to adopt it. Then should we achieve Codex or import MRLs, then those solutions are only useful to growers if they also have domestic registration in their country. So expanding existing registered solutions across a number of countries is important so all our growers can benefit, not just some. Then we need to also consider that important products that we do have access to with Codex MRLs may be subject to upcoming periodic reviews, and decide if we need to maintain these or do we need to pursue new solutions, be they synthetic or biological. And finally, don't forget your special project requests. So how will we review nominations? Again, as I've outlined, there is a lot to be considered as we're expecting a range of different requests and we're limited in available resources. Although, depending upon the types of needs we receive, some projects could be quite large in both cost and resources, while others could be quite small. It really depends on what nominations we receive. I'll go back to my earlier comment about previous nominations we have received totaling in excess of 4,000 over 200 crops and 185 different pests and diseases. At the Global Minor Use Summit held earlier this year, we provided some analysis of nominations we have received. A key takeout of that analysis was that 80% of the nominations we received through a similar process in 2020 were from just 10 crop groups and 33 pests. I suspect it's likely that we may see similar trends again, and perhaps for very similar needs. But ultimately, our review and analysis will be driven by what nominations you submit. However, in analysing the nominations, we'll be seeking to identify trends and similarities in key pests being nominated and matching individual crop needs to crop groups. As explained earlier by Bill Barney, crop grouping is a globally accepted regulatory practice of assessing registration applications and utilised widely to enhance minor use registrations. So we too will be looking where projects that target crop groups could deliver outcomes for a wide range of crops and producers globally, not just individual crops. Obviously, in doing so, we'll be ranking those that have the highest number of nominations from across the globe. But again, when we start to crop group these, even the smallest of nominations or the smallest of our minor crops add just as much value in that process as a larger minor use crop. So every nomination counts. We then also need to balance out the different types of solutions attached to those priority nominations. And again, each project will differ in resources required, with some large and some small. And we'll be working through each of these and the value that a particular project may achieve. So what could outcomes look like? In the next few slides, I want to provide some hypothetical examples of what sort of projects could result. I'll briefly walk through 4 possible examples. These are not exhaustive. There are many more examples I could have provided. So importantly, please remember that these are only hypothetical examples, but hopefully they'll start to provide you a feeling for a range of different project types that could be possible. In this first example, a need we identify could be from a high number of nominations received for a single priority pest in a specific crop. It could be seeking a new solution for which we have identified a product solution, which could be either a synthetic or a biological product. I consider this is what I might term a traditional project type. That is, single crop, single pest, where we are aware of a possible solution or maybe 2 solutions, and we would commence planning and conducting studies to secure a domestic registration, followed by pursuing a Codex MRL for that use. The second could be where we have received a high number of nominations for a particular compound in a given crop that is already registered in many countries, but where it does not have a corresponding Codex MRL, and the objective is to achieve that. This would be a targeted project to seek a Codex MRL for an already registered solution. In some cases, this may only require us to compile existing data and make an application, and or work closely with the registrant to pursue the Codex MRL. In other cases, we may need to generate new or additional data to complement an existing package. The difference here will largely be driven by what available data may already exist. But as you might imagine, if sufficient studies already exist and it only requires a data package to be compiled and lodged, then this is likely to require much lower resources and costs than the first example in pursuing a new solution, and could be just as important to producers. The third example is where we receive a high number of nominations that a particular compound on the future periodic review schedule has critically important Codex MRLs in 1 or more crops that producers want to maintain, as its loss may leave them without suitable options in controlling specific key priority pests or diseases. This would be somewhat similar to the previous example of obtaining a new Codex MRL. We would need to review the available data, identify global gaps and registered use patterns, and determine if those would meet current day requirements of Codex and JMPR. In some cases, the existing data may be sufficient, or we may need to plan and conduct additional studies to seek maintenance of those existing Codex MRLs. The final example involves a priority pest that's been nominated by many countries in a range of crops of the same crop group and seeking many different solution types, be that Codex or import MRLs, and country label expansions for existing registered solutions, to also seeking a new solution and retainment of a key compound that is scheduled for an upcoming periodic review. It is a project that touches many different but important aspects stakeholders need assistance with, depending upon their current circumstances, and starts to allow one to appreciate that just one of these outcomes alone is not sufficient to enable producers to achieve adequate pest control with safe and effective products, and where resulting produce will not be impeded in trade. I like to think of this as an integrated strategy-based project, which is more about understanding the many facets that we're seeking to achieve for our producers globally. In many ways, the resource effort required can be shared across each of these different outcomes, such that pursuing a codex or import MRL will require compilation of existing data, gaps, and registration, as would expanding a registration from one country into other countries. As too would be introducing a new solution and utilising that data to not only pursue a new codex MRL, but to also use that data to support domestic registrations in many countries. So the outcomes are intended to be multifaceted and maximise the use of resources and outcomes from what could be the same or very similar information that needs to be compiled. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Alan, for the great presentation. And from your presentation, it is definitely clear that it might seem like we are conducting a supervised residue trial to submit MRL, but there is a lot that goes into on how we perceive and receive the nominations and what are the steps that we carefully take to ensure that we address the broad picture, or in a way that supports all stakeholders with whom we are working with. With Alan's presentation, now we would like to go into the live nomination form. Alan was highlighting different headings and then the sections that were available in the form. We will take this opportunity to show you the form and demonstrate you how you can submit the nomination. So my colleagues have added the links to the nomination form. So once you open, you will see our website and you can click on nominate needs. In case if you lose this, there's always, you can come back to programs and submit a need. So for now, it is placed in our homepage, so you can access it easily. Please click on nominate needs and you will see a nomination page below once you click nominate needs. So before you start, please select the language of your preference, either English, Spanish, French, or Portuguese. And then you will have 4 sections as Alan was highlighting. So we will have the contact information to receive your email and name. In case if we have any clarifications on the nominations that you submitted, this will help us to reach you back. So after you click on the contact information, you can add your first name and then last name, and you can just enter your email. I'm showing a demo, so I'll be just submitting my nomination as I demonstrate this now. And you can select the country from where you're submitting your nominations. And you can enter your organization name. And then we have 3 main divisions that Alan was highlighting in his presentation. So if it is a direct crop pest need, please select this option and you can see if you are trying which crop you are trying to input to. So let's say we are focusing on bottle gourd or chili peppers, and then if you cannot find the name, so for example each region might have different local names or common names that you refer to, and let's say moringa could be there, but if you call that as drumstick, maybe you will not find those names. So if you could not see the crop listed in this, please enter the name here, and then you can choose the pest. Here I'm going to select thrips. But if you have, like I said, if you could not find the pest or disease that you're looking from the drop-down menu, please write the target name here. So this will have only option to select one crop and one pest. And are you conducting this, or is this a problem in greenhouse experiments or field experiment? So we can select field for now. And then, so what kind of assistance do you need for chili thrips problem? If it is like Codex MRL, like Alan was highlighting, you can choose this. And here you will get option on all the approved active ingredients of Codex. So you can add select any active ingredient that you want to work on. And then you can select, are you looking for Codex MRL or are you looking for import tolerance? So right now I will add that we are looking for Codex MRL. So this is for division 1 in case if you are selecting import MRL. So if you are not looking for import MRL, but you are looking for new solution, you can just click on new solution and tell us if you are looking for biological or conventional. I keep seeing in the chat that you are also interested in supporting biopesticides, which is why we have this exclusively to ensure that we have different options available for the farmers. And do you already have a solution? Click yes, and you can write the name of the solution. If you're not having any solution, you're looking for a new solution, click no. And then, you can also select the options if this is going to be replacing the existing or complement, because most of the biopesticides are used with, IPM approaches. So you can just select whichever option you prefer. So that's for, new solution. There is also another option to access registered solution. So this is where, as Alan was highlighting, so if you know that there is a solution in Colombia that you want to get access in Sri Lanka, then you can please enter the option here, which active ingredient are you looking to get support or to get access from other countries. Let's say chemical, and then you can choose which country are you looking forward to receiving the solution or from. So that's for section A. So under section A, you can either select import or Codex MRL. Are you trying to get access from other countries? Are you trying to find a new solution? So please note that you can read this information on what we define as a minor crop or specialty crop, and please focus your responses around the specialty crops in your country. So after you provide information in this section, you can move on to the next section. So here, what we did for the next 3 years, whatever active ingredient that Codex is going to review, we have listed that. So that will help in getting our MRL, as per the timeline and plan our studies accordingly. So you can select the active ingredient that you are interested to get MRL in Codex. And you can choose multiple crops for the same active ingredients. Let's say we want to choose for chili, we want to choose for eggplant, and we want to choose for okra. So you can select 3 or multiple crops for the active ingredient that you are looking for. And then finally, special projects. So here you can give us some ideas on what you have to, that you may feel should be done or should be taken up by the foundation to support the specialty crop growers. So here, please feel free to add in your ideas, and if you have already existing projects in your country that you want to showcase or to share it with other countries or could be implemented in other countries, please do add that as well. And here there is also a question to ask. If you have resources to support the nominations that you submitted, you can click yes. If not, if you are looking for support from the foundation, you can just click no. And if you have just one crop pest to submit, please click submit and clear. So this will give out the one submission. But if you have 3 or multiple crops or more number of pest and crop combinations, please select submit and save. So what it does, it will be saving your contact information, whatever you provided, and then you can go ahead with submitting the next crop. So you don't have to repeat providing your contact details again and again if you have 4 or 5 nominations. So this is very simple. We made it so easier for you to access, and it's just drop down menus. So the link will be made available to you after the meeting. We will be sending this, and we will also make sure to upload a video on how to submit a nomination, like the step-by-step approach as we were discussing now. That will help you to have access to this and refer to this in the future in case if you're planning to submit the nomination. So this form is live now, and we invite you to go ahead and take a look and submit this. So that's about our online nomination process. And if you have any difficulties in submitting the nomination, you can contact the email ID that we provided in our website. So that's about the live demonstration. And with that, I think we covered all our presentations and demonstrations to highlight the importance of this priority setting process. With that, I will now like to invite Dr. Mary Lucy to moderate the Q&A session. We've been receiving a lot of questions from you through chat, and as I was highlighting, we have this meeting in close collaboration with CABI, and we have with us a senior scientist in sanitary and phytosanitary at CABI Center in Nairobi, Kenya, Dr. Mary Lucy Orange, who will be moderating the Q&A session. She has over 15 years of experience in SPS in developing countries and possesses extensive knowledge in phytosanitary, crop protection, IPM, biological control, crop pollination, and pollinator conservations. Her experience also includes pest risk analysis, inspections, surveillance, and other official controls. She led the development of good practice guide for avocado for Kenya and was winner of Outstanding Women Award 2022 conferred by the Avocado Society of Kenya. We are so happy to get the support from CABI, in helping us with the outreach and also co-organizing this meeting. I invite Dr. Mary Lucy to please take over from here.
Yeah, thank you, Sasi. I hope you can hear me all well.
I can hear you well.
Yeah, first of all, Happy New Year to all of you, and hope that this year started well and full of opportunities for every one of us. So today, again, I'm going to be moderating the Q&A session for this Inception workshop for the Global Minor Use Priority Setting for 2025 for Asia, for Africa, Europe, and also Oceania. But today we are focusing on Africa, Asia, and Europe. And again, this particular Inception workshop, we've had a lot of presentations from many outstanding presenters. We've heard about the importance of trade and food safety, especially for fruits and vegetables from Sarah Brunel, and also overview of the Minor Use Foundation for those who may have not heard about it. So we have a good understanding. And then the benefits of the Minor Use program, especially shared by Ricky Ho, Director for CropLife Asia. We've also heard about the nomination process and the crop grouping and its importance from Bill Barney, and also the nomination process from Alan Norden. And now we would like to have any questions that you may have. Already during the presentation, we heard about the questions you have from the chat. So maybe just let me highlight some of the questions. So there was really an appreciation from Faye from Senegal to IPPC on the PCE, a process that they undertook, and also a question that we'll be sharing with Sarah. Sarah, there's a question. Dan Kagembo would like to know the process of e-phyto certification and requirements. So you can unmute and probably respond to that. And there are also some questions, general questions about Parthenia and management. So you can also respond to that before we go to the next presenter and the questions allocated to them. So just a point of correction, today we are not covering Oceania, but we are covering the Africa and Asia. So off to you, Sarah. Feel free to respond.
Yeah, so very quickly on ePhyto, we have a whole process. We have a general hub system, and we have a GENS for national implementation. Countries are free to select one or the other, and they should really contact us. So we would provide all information to connect to either one. depending on the need of the country, depending on their existing framework. And we're working with UNICC, the UN International Computing Center, who's managing, who developed and is maintaining the hubs and gens. So be in contact with us. I don't want to delve into technical details, but a lot of countries have already registered 136. Some are in active mode, exchanging 92. So that leaves some 40 who are in testing phase. And additional countries over these 136 are our target to join as well. Second question was on Partenium. Is that what you were mentioning, Marie-Lucie, that invasive weed?
Yes, there was a comment on that.
That's indeed a very detrimental invasive alien plant in Pakistan and India. I've been working for the European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization, and at that time, we worked on that pest and took a pest risk analysis. There's a lot of bibliography on that pest, including its climatic modeling. So I invite to revise the existing literature. At the IPPC level, we did not specifically work on that plant, but that's indeed a plant of concern. Would that be of interest to the Minor Use Foundation?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thanks for those clarifications, Sarah, and always great to have you. And now I want to call on Joel Rana from DAF, Australia, to ask your question. Anna, go. I think this question would be for you to answer. Joel, if you are on, unmute and proceed to ask your question. The question is about the benefits of minor use foundation to developing countries. So probably Anna, go. You can proceed if Joel is not on.
Okay, thank you, Marie-Lucie. I don't see the question exactly, but we have programs in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And Sasi was highlighting earlier the countries that we're working in Southeast Asia. We're also working in East and West Africa and countries in Central and South America. So our program is highly focused on how we can help smallholder farmers in developing countries get access to crop protection solutions and improve their yield, their export capacity, as well as their capacity to consume these products domestically. So that is really the focus of our organization. I hope that that's helpful in answering the question. Thank
Yes,
you.
it does. Yeah, thank you so much. There was also a comment and a question, especially on millets as being an important crop. However, there is limited, pest management products for it, especially also mealybug on spices, and also mealybug on and thrips on mango. And this question is from Dr. Chakrada, and probably a comment maybe from the Minor Use Foundation team. Would you please consider millets as a priority crop for more labor crop protection molecules, the same as mango, mealybug and thrips on mango? So are these potential nomination crops and pests that they could include? A response from the minor use team? So
Sure.
if you can go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sasi, do you want to? I was just going to invite the nomination through the portal. We haven't worked with millet, but it sounds like an intriguing project and a compelling one. So please submit it through the portal so that we can be formally considering it under a priority setting process.
All right, thank you. So yes, millet and mango and the mealybugs and this thrips are potential crops for and pests for nomination. So be free to submit through the portal. There's also a comment from Ansa Ula. I don't know, Ansa, are you online? If you could unmute and ask the question. Your question was on biopesticides as an option, but also looking at assistance to Bangladesh on commodity grouping. Unsa, Ula, are you on? If not, then we can invite Alan. Alan, you can respond if assisting Bangladesh on commodity grouping is going to be a potential opportunity. I see that Billy is not there, so you can take on the question. Alan?
And again, is the question about the crop grouping or is the question about the previous one about biopesticides?
Oh, the comment on biopesticides as part of, the future options for pest management. I think that's a general question, but a comment, that's a general comment. But the question is also on assisting Bangladesh on commodity grouping. I think this is about capacity building.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Like in the special projects request, I would encourage you to put a suggestion in there that you might be looking for something to be conducted on crop grouping. It could be something that, we could work at the foundation even more broadly and present material online, give some online presentations and recordings that could be available permanently to help you set up those schemes. So I'd suggest you put something in the special projects area on that aspect.
All right. Yeah, so we are all encouraged to post a special project like capacity building on crop grouping in the nomination process, as had been highlighted by Sasi. There's a question also, I think, Alan, again to you. Are the minor crops really based on availability of MRLs, or is there something else in the criteria to decide what is a minor crop? So this is a question from representative from Senegal. So Alan?
Yeah, I read the question and it sort of said for crop grouping, is the choice of representative crop based on the availability of MRL or is there other criteria? So
yes.
It's not strictly about the residue data that may exist and the MRL that may exist. The representative commodities, as Bill outlined in his presentation, and maybe if you go back over it, he had a slide in there that talked about there are different component or different factors that are made up in the consideration of identifying a representative commodity. And those are that the commodity would likely to contain the highest residue out of that group. So it's likely to be representative of the other commodities within the group. It's likely to be morphologically similar to the other commodities in the group as well, and that's why it's in the group. But also important in relation to the domestic production and the trade in that particular commodity and the dietary consumption, because obviously we're looking at residues for the purposes of MRL setting and for the purposes of dietary exposure assessment. So you want that assessment to be representative of the other commodities that it's going to cover. In the Codex classification, they do give representative commodities, but they are suggestions. So in your country, you could identify different representative commodities. I would only encourage you to do that if they were significantly different, particularly in relation to dietary consumption. But I think you will find in most of the representative commodities, the ones that have been identified through the Codex process are likely to still be the major representative commodities in each of those crop groups.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Alan, for that clarification. Perhaps the presentation with the Codex commodity grouping would be good to be shared so that the participants here can refer to that when they're nominating the crops. Now, a question from Geoffrey. Geoffrey, I saw your hand. Geoffrey, please go, if you are able to unmute, please go ahead and ask your question, and then we'll come to you, Ula. I see your hand as well. Geoffrey Onen. Is Geoffrey with us?
He can unmute himself, Geoffrey.
Geoffrey, if you're not ready yet, then we can have Ula. Ula, unmute yourself and ask your question. Ula? Oh, Geoffrey, there you go. Geoffrey, please go ahead.
Unmuted. Yeah, thank you so much. I was having some difficulties with unmuting. Just a first question to the nomination of when it comes to the refinement for dietary processing studies. I don't know whether at this point in time, country nomination, you can put that element at the back of your mind to move from routine field trials processing studies to help refine the data and make the submissions at the same time to the minor use. That's the question. Maybe Alan, you can come in, and then maybe Barney also can give his thoughts on it. Thank you.
All right. Alan? Thanks, Geoffrey.
Yeah,
Alan?
thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Jeffrey. I only caught about half of the question. I think your question was to do with ensuring that studies also had processing studies with it. I'm just trying to understand the question again.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, please type it on the chat. Thanks. Ula?
Yes, thank you very much. I am from Bangladesh, and about mango, yes, there is a problem of mealybugs, mango mealybugs and thrips also. Rather than mealybugs, there are fruit flies is the main problem. That is Bacterocia dorsalis mostly. The problem here in Bangladesh. We also export our different goods and vegetables, all types of goods, the goods, such goods, rich goods, about 10 to 15 goods. That the problem is here is also fruit flies, thrips, Sporoptera lituara, and leaf minority DB vegetables, etc. So there is a huge problem here. People are very much interested using synthetic pesticide because it has a immediate result. That is why people are interested. And local isolates for biopesticide is not yet been uh, uh, started very well. Though some, especially here in Bangladesh, we use pheromone traps for good flies and thrips also. So helping in Bangladesh, I want
All right.
something from you.
All right. So I think you can say you are referring to the mealybug and the thrips. I think that those are potential candidates. So we'd really encourage you to fill the online nomination form and highlight those in the form. Thank you, Ula. Alan, you can now respond to the question by Geoffrey, and then that will be the last response, and we go to the closing session. I request that we maybe spend the next 10 minutes to do that. So, Alan?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey, for the question. And you might see in the chat that our colleague, Veronica Picardo at the Minor Use Foundation responded to Jeffrey and said, yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, Geoffrey, that's a good response. So, yes, we can. So you can include that in the nomination. I guess that is for Uganda. Good. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the closing session. Thanks for all the questions and the responses that we have gathered. And we would like to have the closing session delivered by Klaus Kunz. So Klaus Kunz is the chair of the Minor Use Foundation Advisory Council. In April in 2024, Klaus became the head of development and the member of the executive leadership team at PI Industries. He's also the founder and managing director of Ephraim Company, supporting companies and other organizations in sustainable business transformation with specific focus on agriculture and environment, social, and governance. So Klaus, kindly welcome and give us the closing remarks and the way forward. Over to you, Klaus.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody for this, I think, very, very intense meeting, very fruitful meeting, full of information. It makes me equally proud and nervous, honestly speaking, because I think the mission that the Minor Use Foundation is on is really big. And now that we have been zooming into some technical details, allow me to zoom out a little bit again. I think what we all need to help the Minor Use Foundation is to really unlock the value of what they do, and it's much bigger than the name already implies. As Ricky said, he says minor use, and people don't know what does it mean minor use. We talk about specialty crops. We talk about supporting millions of smallholder farmers in the world, growing their crops in a good way, with a higher profitability for their families, with higher wealth for their families, but also reducing with new technologies the negative impacts of agriculture, because we need to understand that, of course, chemistry in the field also has impacts on the environment. And I mean, developing new tools for these smallholder farmers is incredibly important to reduce the environmental impacts of agriculture. So I think taking all these things into account, we have a lot of potential to further unlock value and to support the Minor Use Foundation. If you talk about many big companies today claim that they do regenerative agriculture, you cannot do regenerative agriculture with 2 crop rotations only. That's not possible. Regenerative agriculture depends on the availability of a number of registered crops. Otherwise, you are destroying your soils and you are not improving the health of your soils. And it's also about nutritional diversity. Everybody talks about nutrition, but there must be affordable food. There must be affordable specialty crops. There must be affordable fruits and vegetables in the markets. And if you think about how can we unlock the value also for the companies and for the regulators. I mean, agriculture, the word agriculture consists of 2 parts. The first part is agri, it means field. The second part is culture. In many cases, these minor crops, they represent national heritage in the countries. I think there's more mutual benefits to explore. For the regulators, how can they incentivize companies to invest into those molecules, to invest into those uses, into those crops? Because I think this is necessary. I think it's really necessary. It's a really big mission. And I think the team is doing an incredible job with the limited resources they have. And I want to congratulate them already now for all the infrastructure they have been lining up, for all the processes they have been lining up. I mean, I have been in the Minor Use Summit last year. I was so impressed that I immediately decided I want to engage in this foundation because it has an enormous impact. Count on me. Count on the advisory council. We have a refreshed advisory council full of energy to support. Please put all your nominations in and think broader. I mean, the trade is the core, is the foundational topic, but we need to think broader to drive minor users. There is no good nutrition. There's no good agriculture in the world without. I close not on saying minor users, I close on specialty crops. Thanks to everybody and especially to the team for this workshop.
Thanks a lot, Klaus, for those encouraging. And just to remind everyone, in the last nomination, we had 4,000 nominations. So this is 2025. Let's break that record. Let's unlock the potential for farmers to manage pests. Let's unlock that potential for growers and exporters in these fruits and vegetables and in the other crops that we were going to nominate. And therefore, I just want to request you to put on your video and let's take a group photo as a testament to really supporting the specialty crop. Thank you. Over to you, Sassy. Let's just put on your video. Let's take a group photo as a reminder of this Inception workshop. Back to you, Sassy.
Much, Mary Lucy, and thank you so much for all the participants for staying all through the meeting. And we were slightly behind the time, but we managed to cover the most important aspects what we wanted to convey today. And with that, our nomination form is live, and it's on your hands now to submit your nominations. And this form will be open for 1 month. And I request you all to please turn your videos on so we can start taking a group picture. Please try now to turn your videos on. And I see all our partners from ASEAN, from Oceania, and from Europe and Africa joining us today. Thank you so much again for the great support. While we capture different pages, please stay. Okay. Yes, you can try now. My colleagues will be capturing some screenshots as we move along. And while we wait, I would like to thank all the participants again, all our partners from all the regions, and my colleagues especially for supporting this event. We did a lot of effort to outreach and to send emails and reminders and to have this Zoom event happening today. Thank you again. Okay, so we go in 3, 2, 1. Please smile and we will capture your pictures. Okay. Few more seconds. Okay. Thank you. And moving forward, you will get us the link. Get the link from us by email. We will upload the video recordings, and we will also record the presentations on our website. And please watch out for more updates on the nomination process that we will be adding in all our social media pages. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone. We really, really appreciate all the support that you have given. And a special mention to all our speakers for staying for the entire 2 hours, 50 minutes of our meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wishing you
Thank
all
you,
a happy
Sasi.
New Year. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.